We are here with another episode of Before You Buy, that show where I give you some straight up gameplay and my thoughts on the latest games releasing as usual. It is me, your guide, Jake Baldino, and today we're talking about Destiny 2. I mean, listen, thanks for waiting a few days for this video. I had to play a ton since this isn't really the type of game you can rush, so thanks. But it's an interesting game for a variety of reasons. It's a completely polarizing series. Some people will come to this video automatically, I can see it now, to comment about how no one plays Destiny anymore, or it's so bad. And on the flip side, there's a sizable chunk of community that loved and played the hell out of the original game and all its content. So whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, Destiny 2 is definitely for the fans. Some people were expecting Destiny 2 to be a complete overhaul, you know, to really right the wrongs of what turned lots of people off from the original. I know I was expecting that, but this game does not do that. Destiny 2 absolutely fixes shortcomings that the first game had, but in design and structure, it's a Destiny game through and through. And if you're the right type of person, it's a much stronger and better game. First off, let's see where I'm coming from. I played tons of vanilla Destiny upon release, but walked away as not really the biggest fan, kind of indifferent to it. I saw the game blow up for some folks, having lots of close friends that still play it obsessively, so I did hop in after some substantial changes and stuff with Taken King, and frankly, I don't know, I still didn't get it. I don't hate it at all, but yeah, it just wasn't really for me. But Destiny 2 immediately pulls no punches in showing it's a more story-based cinematic experience this time. The presentation is totally top-notch with, like, really actually exciting cutscenes and interesting characters that make everything feel way more fully realized, and it gives you a bit more of a motivation for playing. Staple characters are way more fleshed out here from the original game, and some okay new characters help move the story along, which is, I'll say, somewhat standard sci-fi, but it's saved by, again, good characters and some interesting world building. It also helps that Gaul works as an established villain who shows up more than once and has some somewhat fleshed out motivations. There's just enough to chew on with everything here now, and it makes all the difference. Most importantly though, it permeates over to the gameplay, which manages to stay pretty story heavy and scene based throughout the single player story missions and all the other activities that you go on. The game isn't just bookended by cutscenes. There's a lot of developments that go on while you play, as well as a bunch of side missions called adventures that are kind of set up like fleshed out patrol missions that are still there, but it all manages to feel varied and compelling. It's not as just cookie cutter, go here, kill this stuff. I mean, that's still a lot of what this really is, but you know, multiple scene changes, platforming segments, and dialogue makes it feel like a way stronger experience than just a grind. The quote-unquote open world aspects of Destiny 2 feel much stronger as well. There are way more reasons to stick grounded to a certain planet, not just hopping from one to another through menus and never really getting a feel for any of them. You get way more of a good long feel for each area, with more things to find and way more fleshed out random public events that are now trackable with a new full map, as well as what I mentioned before with like these adventures and eventually patrol missions to go on too. Things feel like way more of a slow burn because you don't get a vehicle early on at all, which is very, very unlike the first game, but there's a bit more to do here. There are more secret things to find and scan, and the open worlds are now populated with NPCs that give quests and sell items, which along with a bunch of other tiny improvements make for really good fixes to feeling like no time is wasted here. What reviewers call quality of life is much improved here. You're not bouncing back to the social area every time you do something. Here, you do lots more in the director and will be on world way more often than just sitting in a loading screen staring at a ship like in the first game all the time. And to me, that's a hell of an improvement just right there. I just want to point something out though. This game is still very much Destiny grind. You're gonna be shooting lots of enemies over and over and over again and getting lots of loot. It's either gonna hook you or it's not. Despite lots of additions and fixes, Destiny 2 boils down to the same things you did in Destiny 1, which may disappoint some. It does just feel like more, slightly better Destiny, but for those who have a group of friends or built a clan, I don't think they'll mind. Since there is a strong emphasis on story, it can also make feeling playing Destiny 2 by yourself a bit more bearable. It's still a lonely grind, but like I've been saying, there's still just a lot more to chew on now. Whether you are playing solo, alone, or you're in a party, it's good though, especially because shooting stuff does feel so fun. Bungie's skill at making solid console all first-person shooter games is on display here as much as it was in the first game. Not much has really changed at all, but shooting does feel damn good, and you really feel powerful and in control. The new loadout system seems kind of weird at first, but it ends up totally working. Even though the shotgun now is kind of like limited to a power weapon and no longer an easy secondary weapon, it feels like you're really using a kick-ass shotgun when you can use it. Class abilities, too, feel better than they ever have, even if not drastically different. Despite shooting a lot of the same enemy types, which is also disappointing, there are enough new variations introduced to hold you over, I guess. I wanted a little bit more, but they added a bunch of new larger scale enemies that are pretty interesting for encounters. And as you may or may not know, completing the story mode is really just the beginning. You can get through it in a few sittings, depending on how you play. Destiny is all about that end game and the surrounding content. Strikes, for example, feel more grandiose, a bit more of a bigger deal with more traversal stuff. They feel like mini raids with like a bit more to chew on than just a harder section with a harder boss. They feel way more satisfying to play through. Keep in mind though, there's still no full raid yet, no Iron Banner or Trials, clan support isn't live, and there's still just so much more to decide and experience and really roll out. I played tons to get some thoughts on the game, but Destiny 2 will live on with new content for a long time, so it's really only scratching the surface in this video. Crucible 2 is available yet again with a new mode, but it's another area of the game that will grow over time with the events I mentioned. You know, the stuff that people really look forward to. But games are now 4v4 instead of 6v6, and while they feel a little less chaotic, I think it's because maps still feel pretty large, which seems a bit off to me. But otherwise, it works fine. Destiny 2 is a game where the more you put into it, the more you get out of it, and there's a good amount of stuff to get out of it. While it does feel extremely samey, like I keep saying, it still is fun if this is your thing. Bungie did a really good job of honoring players, too, who played through the original Destiny in the opening scene. It was a really good way to like soften the blow of starting completely over with no gear. I was really disappointed though to see that despite the potential character overhaul, the character creator is really as lame and as simple as it was in the first game. I mean, seriously, guys? Also, it is worth pointing out that new one-time use shaders, as it stands right now, is a total buzzkill. It sucks. Destiny 2 has some small bit of microtransactions as the original game did, which most players really didn't seem to mind, but the switch to potentially farming for shaders is rubbing some folks the wrong way, and I get it. But really, the bottom line is Destiny 2 is more Destiny. It's more, much better Destiny that has a lot of love and work put into it. But in fairness, I can't sell you on Destiny at all. You kind of have to sell yourself. And if you are already sold, this will be a satisfying package for you. But that's Destiny 2. Keep in mind, this will be an ongoing conversation over time. But I want to know after day one or so what you guys are thinking. Because, you know, I gave you some pros, some cons, some personal opinion of mine. But now I definitely want to hear yours down in the comments. How you feeling about Destiny? Did you finish the campaign and get over level 20? Have you discovered anything that you haven't seen any other players talking about? And what kind of player are you? Were you burned on the original and you're satisfied here, or you're still skeptical? Whatever type of player you are, I want to hear from you down in the comments. I'll be answering any questions you have, but if you have any more for me, you know where to hit me up: Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Jake Baldino. But thank you guys so much for coming around. We got a lot more Destiny videos coming out, especially if you're a newcomer. And you should know though, clicking the like button helps us out because we put this stuff out all the time. But for subscribers new and old, just know thank you very much. We'll see you guys next time.